And now this one is kind of obviously the best, save the best till last. Looking at kind of the support that is out there, the skills that are kind of we're going to need going forwards. And in these sort of last few months, lots of things have been turned on their head. And one of the things that we're seeing at Tech Southwest and working with our partners across the region is, we are moving really quickly. There are new resources, new support out there, new programs. And on one hand, you can be sort of, there's lots going on. How are we going to deal with that? Where do I go? What's the signposting? But on the other hand, it's very exciting to see these new ways of engaging, working, giving support, getting support as a business or another type of organization. So that's the kind of the conversation we're going to have now. I'll briefly introduce, so Paula Byers, many things, LimeCloud, IT company, Digital Northern Devon, one of the founders there, and various other things in terms of that whole kind of tech ecosystem, key player. Charlotte, the Digital Skills Partnership, the HotSWLEP, covering all of Devon and all of Somerset. And Julian, MD of tech strategy and IT company TimeWave, based in Exeter, but very recently launched a program called Technology Success at the end of last year, working with more sort of non-tech sector companies, actually getting them thinking about tech. And guess what? COVID happened, so that got very interesting in terms of how that was delivered and the kind of conversations they were having with SMEs across the region. So let's just dive straight into Paula. Can you tell us a little bit about, I suppose, the ecosystem that you operate in, Digital Northern Devon, and how this is playing out right now? Business, community, all this change.
Sure. So our community up here is a very rural one, and historically we haven't had a hub to gather around like Plymouth Science Park or Exeter Science Park and so on. But we have a number of businesses from aerospace to advanced manufacturing to a lot of digital creatives. And I think it's fair to say that we've consolidated our business support with other organisations such as Barnstable Chamber, partly because I happen to be president of that as well at the moment. So we've supported about 120 businesses across the region with access and guidance on government support, to general business support, through to sector-specific stuff too. And I think that's been delivered in a number of ways, but largely kind of online. So whether that be through online learning, signposting and offering webinars ourselves, or in partnership with others, to connecting online. And I think it can't be underestimated, the well-being aspect of all of this, and providing that safe space for people to connect and share and feel less alone as we all kind of dissipated into our remote kind of networks, really. And then finally through lobbying and feedback with our MPs and also the local authorities, the LEP, and many more. So, I think it's fair to say that it's been a really challenging time for many, but we've tried to kind of be there as much as we can. And I think the exciting thing is there's lots of good news to come out of that, in terms of it's actually in Northern Devon, we've got a couple of facilities that have come online through the COVID period, sadly. So they're a bit limited at the moment, but kind of as we move out of this, they'll be coming to the fore with the Petroc Coty, the Centre of Technology, Innovation, Excellence. Have to get that out in the right order, and also the North Devon campus of the HotSWLEP, the Southwest Institute of Technology. And I think along with the North Devon Enterprise Centre, which is currently being built at the moment, I think with those and the digital hubs that are popping up in support of those, I think the future looks bright and exciting, and we're certainly seeing that kind of sort of come to the fore now in the tech sector.
And just harking back to that first session about hubs, and actually, it is good for all of us to lift our heads up and look around the region at things that are going on in terms of physical hubs, digital hubs, programs, and actually, because geography does not matter in the same way as it used to. I think that's a real kind of, in fact, we're going to be talking about that in one of our future tech gathering sessions. So thank you, Paula. So Charlotte, I guess Digital Skills Partnership, I've seen some of the things that you guys have been doing in terms of putting things together, online resources, curating, securing funding. Could you sum up sort of what you've been doing in these last few months, and also who's been accessing it? Is it tech sector? Is it far wider? It's quite good to find out that out as well.
Yeah, sure. So just very quickly, for those of you that don't know, Digital Skills Partnership is an initiative that's supported through the Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport, and there are only 6 local digital skills partnerships across the UK. And it's fab that 2 of those 6 are in the southwest. So as you said, I kind of cover Devon and Somerset, and then there's also the Cornwall and Isles Digital Skills Partnerships have got really nice coverage across the southwest. And our role is a bit different. We're not a training provider. Our role is to kind of be out there looking for evidence on both regional and national level about what is the need around digital skills, and then trying to kind of address that need by either bringing in funding to deliver a training program, and kind of looking across whether that might be an in-region training provider who is kind of best suited to that and has the expertise and knows their audience the best, or it equally could be about bringing in a national offer, through the likes of Google and Microsoft. And it's about leverage. It's about kind of making sure we're doing that radar scanning piece, and then kind of grabbing and bringing in through some brokerage the right solution for both businesses, but also for kind of the young people, for people that are learning, and the wider communities, to enable everybody. During lockdown, had to access everything through online. So we have a very broad umbrella as a digital skills partnership in terms of our remit is to enable everybody to move on. So whether they're at the start of their kind of digital capability journey, right through to how do we kind of keep our geniuses, our coders, our testers, our cloud architects, how do we keep them continue learning?
Yeah, cool.
And so I guess what have we done? So very kind of quickly early in COVID, there was some activity that we weren't able to continue with because it had been planned as an online kind of delivery. And so we repurposed that money, working with local training providers, because we very quickly realised that the gap was around our kind of definitely smaller businesses that didn't have an online presence. And suddenly the market stalls, the businesses that were taking cash payments, they were kind of suddenly blocked in with how to access.
And that's great digital stuff that we've had. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? We're seeing that if you go out and buy something now, or if you into the contactless aspect, and embracing that, the digital, the stores that were physical that have now, and Bryony in that first session mentioned, and that's amazing, isn't it? Whether people like it or not, they've had a digital kick up the backside. Terrible,
I think
but we're seeing.
We all remember our first website we built, and it actually doesn't matter how terrible that first website is you build, because it's all about you starting on your journey, and next time you build it, you'll build it better, and you'll learn more about how to tweak it, how to optimize it.
Definitely.
And it just gets started.
Cool.
And then kind of there is a mass of information out there in terms of how you can improve it, and kind of courses that you can go on.
And I urge people to go check out the Digital Skills Partnership resource as well. It's a library of opportunity that you're setting out, and training courses and others, and working with loads of regional as well as other kind of collaborators to deliver some of that. I'm going to move on to Julian because I'm aware of the time. So Julian, you're different. We've heard from a sort of tech cluster and how that they're reaching out and working with others. We've heard from a publicly funded organisation working really well across the region in terms of putting that together. You're kind of an independent company who then just set something up before COVID, as it happens. But can you tell us a bit about technology success in terms of what is it and why you set it up and what's happening right now with it?
Yeah, so thanks, Dan. So we as you said, we're sort of a technology support provider really to businesses, and kind of we built Tech for Success kind of on the premise really that every business should consider themselves a tech business now, and kind of linked to that, we feel that there's kind of a sort of a technology gap between what businesses are doing and how they can make the best use of technology. And we started the program in November last year, meeting as a business group at the Exeter Science Park, where we kind of effectively got a bunch of businesses together, and the whole premise was really around sharing ideas and kind of best use and best practice around technology, and how businesses might be able to share ideas and learn from things that they've implemented, and what's worked, what's not worked, etc. We also launched sort of a technology survey last year, where we were asking businesses about how they were using technology and how they thought that would change over the coming years, etc. And we got some really interesting feedback from that. And then, as you said, COVID hit us. So we, from one side of our business, we were massively busy sort of supporting businesses, but we felt also that really it was kind of incumbent on us to help as many other businesses as we could. So we sort of built on, I suppose, on the premise that we started with Technology for Success, and launched a webinar series, which sort of where we're able to kind of introduce sort of other partners, and each kind of episode that we did had a theme. So it could be marketing or finance or legal, but each theme then linked back how to technology and how that could kind of be considered. And I think obviously given where we are now, we've kind of shifted 5 years. It almost feels like.
And what's really all these different types of support. You guys don't really mind what type of company, actually. If it's a tech company, of course you've got lots to learn. If you're a non-tech company, that is all kind of that boundary. What is a tech company, as you were saying, and in terms of being a member of Digital Northern Devon, it's just the non-tech orientated kind of company that is up for change and adapting is really important, isn't it? The companies that is your through Digital Skills Partnership, the skills, whether it's senior management, and their mindset and their approach to strategy, or frontline staff and their learning and their practical skills, all that is in the mix now, isn't it? I suppose one of the things is, do we, as a tech sector, do we have a responsibility around that? Can we be a leader here? It was the fastest growing part of the sector for many years leading up to this. Paula, let's come back to you in terms of, is that a key part of what drives this in terms of, or should be?
Yes, I believe so. I feel really strongly that actually as a tech sector, we have a responsibility to help upskill others. It's almost on the principle of one thrive, we all thrive kind of message. And I think whether it's, kind of big tech firms like Xero, for example, who've used their big data analytics for the the billions of transactions that go through their platform to present anonymized data to influence government response to COVID, through to our web platform providers, RocketSpark, who developed a scheduled collection and delivery module at the start of lockdown for e-commerce clients, particularly in the food and drink sector, through to kind of more local things like we have a online procurement platform called Applegate here in North Devon, who developed a COVID supply hub, which was supplying everything from PPE through to hardware and tech that people were having trouble getting hold of. Webcams, I think, were particularly difficult to get hold of for those that didn't have them built in. So I think my thing would be, what can you do to, as a tech company or a digital company, what can you do to improve or change or add to your services to help support? The number of startups is really great and really encouraging to see, but we need to ensure that we're building sustainable and robust businesses that are still there in 5 years' time. Finally, I would just say we need to not lose the digital momentum that the lockdown period forced, and make sure that we continue that, and support that adoption going forward.
Thank you, Paula. And just bring people's attention to a poll that Joe Brackett's Toby Parkins has just launched in terms of, I think it's a very basic question about how do you access learning support since lockdown. We want to know yes or no, and then we'll move quickly on to, I think, a more detailed question to those who answered yes. To those who answered no, it's like, well, you've been very busy, or your Wi-Fi connection is terrible. But I think everyone was putting yes for that. And now the second question has come up in terms of, what form of learning support have you made the most use of? So do click on that. So one of the things there, Charlotte, is in terms of the importance in terms of across the wider economy and businesses at all types and all stages. How do we know this is working, or is it too early? Is it just a case of throwing things out there and just doing our best right now, or is there learning to be had so we can refine this and fine tune this? Because we're not going to go back, are we? These new ways of doing things.
Yeah, can I be really rude, Dad, and just go back to what Paula was talking about,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just kind of say about the reciprocal kind of giving back to the community. Just give a plug to digitalboost.org.uk. So when COVID kind of first happened as a digital skills partnership, we realised we got a lot of expertise and technical skills around the table, and we were like, what would be a great thing for us to be able to do is offer some volunteering to those businesses that kind of in that crisis stage about how do they move online. And it was quite a difficult, we would have had to build a platform. It kind of would have been a full-time resource that needed facilitating. But actually now on a national level, a platform has been put together called digitalboost.org.uk. And what this does is, so if you are a digital expert in whatever field, you can say, I would like to volunteer between 1 and 5 hours a week. And you kind of put your profile on there where your skills lie. And then as a startup or an SME, you can go on and say, I've got this particular need. I want to start my first SEO campaign. I don't know where to start. And what the platform will do is it will match an expert with that need. And the even better bit about it is there's a proximity locator sitting behind it, so it will match you with the most local expert. And I think that's really important, because that will start to build a connection locally, and it will start to, you are going to go back and spend money with businesses that you trust and have given you good service in the past. So I think it'd be great to kind of plug that locally. Have I still got time to answer your original question? I will do.
Pass things into the chat, please. Yes. Cool. That's really that definitely makes sense, isn't it? And Julian, from your side, because you're sort of the different types of companies you're engaging with the clients across sectors and the technology success, I suppose, is it encouraging that people are putting their hands up and saying, we need help, we do need to talk, we do need, because traditionally not everyone in some sectors is, especially in the Southwest or the family-run businesses, that kind of things, that ability and willingness to change, are you getting a sense of that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we had close to 200 businesses kind of follow us through the webinar series, which we put together, which was amazing. And I think 90% of those businesses were businesses that we've never interacted with before. So it just shows, I think, that there's a great desire at the moment to make use of digital, and I think initially it came from, for a lot of businesses, it was a necessity. They had to change something. But now the genie's out of the bottle a little bit, I think, and it's like, okay, so now we're actually having to really think about this and thinking about how do we actually build a strategy around these things? How do we actually make the best use? How do we make the right decisions, etc. So yeah, I think it's massively encouraging, and I think off the back of that as well, we've from our perspective, again, we've built now the Technology for Success website, which again sort of provides all of this resource for free, that all this information that we're kind of gathering from ourselves and from our partners, that really helps businesses and startups kind of think about their tech journey and how they can use technology and try to make the right decisions first time.
And I guess, and it is hard, that whole kind of moving from the immediate, what do I need to do to keep this business going, or move from one way of working to a new way of working, or you're already there, but to move from that into a longer term strategic mindset as a business, including the skills we're going to need now and in the future, the support, etc. That is hard when there's still great uncertainty, the furlough scheme, winding down over the autumn. So perhaps a final point from each of you, really, in the last 5 minutes we have. Well, firstly, thanks for doing the poll, people. So yeah, online digital training, webinars, they're the two main things that people have been accessing, which is encouraging. Not so much discussion groups, informal business contacts, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's where people have been going to engage and get that learning. So that's really interesting to see. So yeah, so a final point, I guess, Paul, in terms of going forwards, how you see this might kind of play out over the months and years to come, which is an impossible question to answer, but anyway.
Let me just check my crystal ball a moment. So I think we've got a really good opportunity here, and the key thing for me is really making sure I come back to that kind of sustainable, robust business idea. You know, I think it's really, really important to make sure that, you know, as a sector, we're really investing, you know, in our talent locally, and making sure that we're not kind of allowing that to drift away, and hopefully attracting new talent here, and really supporting and nurturing from a tech cluster hat on. You know, I think supporting and nurturing those that are popping up. You know, I think there's some really good innovation that's come out of COVID. There's nothing that breeds innovation than you know, some major event like this, and it you know, it really kind of makes people develop something fast. So you know, I think kind of trying to support those startups with really good ideas.
I guess no one should be going on a journey alone anymore. You know, they shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
Southwest and look at the support organisations and how we are an open and collaborative kind of. You know.
And the Coty premise, actually, the Petrock Coty building, their premise is you bring the idea, we'll help you with everything else, which actually I think is a really nice thing. You know, and it's about, you know, kind of finding that support, finding your tribe, like Bryony was saying earlier with the networks and things. You know, find your tribe and you know, really kind of lean on them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paula. And Charlotte, same to you, really, to sort of, you know, looking ahead.
Yeah, so I think I would kind of say about championing lifelong learning. So I think whether you kind of are an individual and you've had time to invest in learning, either through just because you've kind of needed to acquire some new skills, or because, you know, perhaps you have been furloughed, right through to I really want to see business leaders build that into kind of an employee's almost right. Whilst they are at work, that they can take a certain amount of hours to kind of invest in their own development and continual learning, because it's not standing still, is it? That, you know, it is just iterating constantly. There is just so much stuff we don't know, and we could all be more productive, more effective, more collaborative. So I would like to see kind of a culture which embraces a lifelong learning.
Individual or the company, organisation, building that in, you know, for the long term. You know, so you're more robust, more resilient. Brilliant. And Julian, from your perspective, I guess looking ahead and the companies you're working with and engaging through the Technology Success Programme.
Yeah, so I think I echo really everything that's been said. I think one of the most important things that businesses need to think about actually are their people, and how they can use technology to kind of bring those people together. And, you know, lots of businesses have obviously sort of pivoted into home working and stuff, but they've done it kind of, you know, knee jerk, I think, and now they've got to kind of come back and actually think about, you know, we're now 3 months in, how are people actually feeling? How do we keep people together? How can we kind of spark that creativity? Because it's much harder, I think, you know, doing it digitally. It's not impossible. It's definitely harder than perhaps it was before. So I think that this is here to stay for sure. Definitely, there's never been a better time to kind of gain access to resources, free resources, learning, etc. So I think really just embracing it.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Julian. This wide-ranging discussion on skills and the tech sector kind of support that's out there. And people do check out the resources on the left-hand side. I'm going to do a final plug for the Tech Southwest Awards, and also the next tech gathering coming up, which is going to be a summer social. Don't know what that means yet, but Joe's working on it in terms of bring your own drinks. Is it a barbecue, you know, digitally? I'm not sure. But I think we'll be getting some old Tech Southwest friends back together as part of that, and some of the award winners from last year and other things. So watch out for that. There's networking now. So for those of you who haven't used Hopin before, you can see on the left-hand side, we have the networking little button, holding hands, obviously designed pre-COVID, and by Hopin. But yeah, do check it out, and that will run for about 15 minutes or so, and basically it throws you in with a random person to talk, connect, you know, choose a card, collaborate in those 4 minutes, whatever it might be, but you can connect with them and just, you know, meet other people across the tech community in the Southwest. So thanks again, guests from this session, our space guests earlier, and our startup guests. And thanks everyone, audience. It's a long chunk of time for people to be part of this. So thank you, and see some of you in the networking session very soon. And thanks again. Cheers all.